Now, creating a non-fiction book involves extensive research, planning and organisation. If we're going to streamline the writing process and ensure that the content is engaging and informative, then there must be a strong outline and it must be based on key questions. And that's what this course is about. These key questions that are strategic, that help guide the writing of the non-fiction book and ensure that what it covers is relevant, compelling and well-structured content. So let us think about these 10 questions. First of all, what is the main purpose of the book? Yes, define what you aim to achieve with the book. Is it to educate, to inspire, to persuade, to entertain? Understanding the purpose will guide the tone and the structure. Okay, marketing, management process responsible for identifying, anticipating and satisfying consumers' needs and wants profitably. Yes, but we want to market the book. Right. So therefore, straight away, we consider who is the target audience for the book. Who are the intended readers? What are their interests, their needs, their levels of expertise? Knowing your audience can help tailor the content's depth and complexity. Okay, it's got to be unique. Is this course unique? Well, how many courses are shot in beautiful countryside? Ah, yes, but the book is a book. Oh, all right then. What unique perspective or information? This is non-fiction, remember. What unique perspective or information can I offer? Let's think. Unique perspective. Identify what sets your book apart from others in the same category. Do you have unique experiences, expertise or research to share? Okay. Fourthly, let's see. What are the key concepts? Yeah. What are the key concepts or ideas to be covered in this book? Well, outline the main ideas. Yes, okay. So we've outlined the main ideas that form the chapters or the sections in the book. Ensuring that each concept is clearly defined will help maintain focus. And focus is key. Okay, how will I structure the content of the book? Well, decide on the organisation of the book. Will it be thematic, chronological, or structured in some other way? A clear structure helps readers follow the argument or the narrative. Okay, what research or sources do I need to consult? List the types of research and the resources that you might need. Will you require access to academic papers, interviews, historical documents, or other types of data? Okay. Number 7. What are the potential counter-arguments or criticisms of the book's main points? Anticipate and address possible objections to your arguments. This enhances your credibility and provides a more rounded perspective to your readers. How will I engage the reader? Consider ways to keep the reader interested. Will you use narratives, case studies, visuals or infographics to break up text and add interest? Okay. What actionable advice or takeaways will the reader gain? Determine what you want the readers to learn or do after reading the book. Providing clear takeaways or action steps can make your book more impactful. Okay, and the 10th question, how will I conclude the book? Plan a strong conclusion that reinforces the main points and leaves the reader with a clear summary or a call to action. Now, these questions are designed to build a solid foundation for writing a non-fiction book, ensuring that the content is relevant, well organised and engaging. By answering these questions during the planning phase, you can streamline the writing process and enhance the book's effectiveness and appeal. Right, now, I said there'd be questions. I stress participation. So here are your questions. What are some effective techniques for structuring the content of a non-fiction book? How can you ensure that your non-fiction book is engaging and accessible to a wide audience? Could you provide examples of successful non-fiction books that have effectively used the 10 questions that have been outlined? Okay, these 10 questions. Can you remember what they were? Because, yeah, it's nice to have surrounding countryside. Makes for a more beautiful learning experience. But were you taking notes? I'll give you a minute to write down the 10 questions. So we move on to the next lecture. Welcome to this lecture. I'm going to expand a bit on the 10 questions. Remember the 10 questions, the ones that you wrote down? You did write them down, didn't you? Good. Okay, going to expand a bit on that, delve a bit deeper. So, deepening the research and the planning phases. Exploring the purpose. Further consideration, reflect on how the book can make a meaningful impact. If your purpose is to educate, consider what gap in knowledge you are filling. How will this information change the reader's understanding or behaviour? Understanding the audience. Remember, marketing, management process responsible for? So, demographic details. Go beyond general characteristics and think about the demographics, the psychographics and behavioural traits of your audience. What are the daily challenges? What languages and examples will resonate with them the most? Offering unique perspectives. Expert interviews. To enhance your book's credibility and uniqueness, consider including expert insights. Interviews or guest contributions can provide fresh perspectives and add value to your narrative. So that's the first one, deepening the research and planning process. Secondly, structuring content strategically, organising key concepts, chapter breakdowns. Develop detailed outlines for each chapter, specifying key points, supporting information, and how each chapter connects to the overall thesis of the book. This helps maintain logical flow and coherence. Deciding on structure. Visual mapping. Use tools like mind maps or flowcharts to visualize the structure of your book. This can help in seeing how different sections interconnect and whether the flow makes sense from a reader's perspective. Compiling research sources. Comprehensive source list. Build a comprehensive list of all sources you plan to consult. This includes books, journals, websites, and personal interviews. Keeping track of sources meticulously aids in the later stages of citation and verification. Addressing challenges and engaging the reader. Counter-arguments and criticisms. Critical analysis. Engage with critiques of your viewpoints, presenting a balanced view by acknowledging and respectfully countering these critiques can strengthen your arguments and enhance the book's credibility. Engagement techniques. Interactive elements. Think about quizzes, checklists, exercises. Interactive elements can make the book more engaging and practical, especially for educational content. Concluding effectively. Delivering actionable advice. Implementing guidance. Offer step-by-step guidance or strategies for applying the knowledge provided. Readers appreciate not just learning new information, but also understanding how to use it. Crafting a powerful conclusion. Summarizing key points, a strong conclusion revisits the main themes and reinforces the book's purpose. Consider ending with a compelling call to action or thought-provoking question to leave a lasting impression. Okay, what are your final thoughts? Or will you be keeping them private? By thoroughly addressing these aspects, you can enhance the depth, the clarity, the engagement, and overall quality of your non-fiction book. Each element, from initial concept, development, through to the final chapter, contributes to crafting a book that not only informs but also inspires its readers. Whether your goal is to inspire change, to entertain, to educate, the detailed planning and thoughtful consideration of these elements are key to creating a successful non-fiction book. Some questions. How can I effectively incorporate interviews into my non-fiction book? What are some best practices for structuring the chapters of my non-fiction book? Can you provide tips for a compelling conclusion for my non-fiction book? Right, we'll deal with those, some of them, in the next couple of lectures. Thank you. I concluded the last lecture by asking the question really about the best practice for structuring the chapters of the non-fiction book, because that's crucial for maintaining reader engagement and ensuring that your information is conveyed clearly. So first of all, start with an outline. Before you start writing, create a detailed outline for each chapter. This should include main points, subpoints, and how each chapter fits into the overall thesis of the book. An outline acts as a roadmap, helping you to stay on track and maintain logical flow. A uniform chapter structure. Aim for a consistent structure across chapters. This could mean starting each chapter with an anecdote followed by analysis, then concluding with key takeaways. Consistency helps readers understand what to expect and aids in smoother navigation through the book. Clear and descriptive titles. Use clear, engaging and descriptive titles for each chapter. Titles should give readers a good sense of what they will learn in the chapter, sparking interest and making the content accessible. Opening and closing sections. Introduction. Start each chapter with a strong introduction that outlines what the reader will learn and why it's important. This sets the context and primes the reader for the content to follow. Conclusion. End each chapter with a summary of key points covered. This reinforces learning and provides a smooth transition to the next chapter. Logical flow within and between chapters. Ensure that the information within each chapter flows logically from one section to the next. Additionally, each chapter should logically lead into the next. This might mean ordering chapters chronologically, thematically, or in order of complexity. Incorporate visuals and text breaks. Use subheadings, bullet points, tables, charts, images to break up text and make complex information easy to digest. Visuals can illustrate points effectively and keep readers engaged. Link back to the overall thesis. Regularly connect the discussion in each chapter back to the overall thesis of the book. This reinforces how each piece of content contributes to the larger argument or narrative. Include calls to action. End chapters with a call to action or a prompt that encourages readers to apply what they've learned. This can be particularly effective in educational, self-help, or business books. Use quotes. Use real-life examples. Start chapters with a relevant quote or include real-life examples to illustrate points more vividly. This not only enriches the content, but also makes it relatable and persuasive. Review and revise for clarity and impact. After drafting your chapters, review them for clarity, impact and engagement. Consider whether the content meets the reader's needs and whether it achieves the chapter's objectives. Feedbacks from beta readers or professional editor can be invaluable here. Cross-referencing. Use cross-references to connect related content across different chapters. This enhances the cohesiveness of the book and helps reinforce information without unnecessary repetition. So, by following these best practices, you can create well-structured, compelling chapters that effectively convey your message and keep your reader engaged from start to finish. Each chapter becomes a building block in the overall structure of your book, contributing to a coherent and impactful narrative. So, questions. How can I ensure the chapters flow logically and build upon each other? What are some effective techniques for crafting compelling chapter introductions and conclusions? Can you provide an example of a well-structured chapter outline for a non-fiction book? Have a go at answering these questions. Post in the QA. I will answer them in time, either with lectures or posts in the QA. Be involved in this course. Let's move on. Compelling techniques. Yes, compelling techniques for crafting compelling chapter introductions and conclusions. Well, they're crucial. They set the tone. They leave a lasting impression for the reader. So, chapter introductions start with a hook. Begin with an intriguing statement, a provocative question, or compelling anecdote. This hook should capture the reader's interest immediately and draw them into the chapter. State the objective. Clearly outline what the reader will learn or discover in the chapter. This sets expectations and shows the value of the content they are about to read. Provide context. Briefly provide any necessary background information or summarize key points from previous chapters that directly relate to the topic at hand. This helps in creating a seamless transition and maintaining coherence across the book. Using quotes or statistics. Starting with a relevant quote from a well-known figure or an interesting statistic can lend authority to your chapter and pique the reader's interest. Create emotional appeal. Engage the reader emotionally by discussing a problem they might relate to, or describe a scenario that evokes an emotional response. This builds a connection and encourages the reader to continue. Chapter conclusions. Summarize key points. Reinforce the main ideas or lessons learned in the chapter. This recap helps to consolidate information and ensures the reader takes away the important points. Link back to your thesis. Reinforce the main idea of the lessons learned in the chapter. This recap helps to consolidate information and ensures the reader takes away the important points. Link back to your thesis. Make sure to tie the chapter back to the overall thesis of the book. This reinforces how the chapter contributes to the larger argument or purpose. End with a question. Pose a thought-provoking question at the end of the chapter. This can stimulate critical thinking and keep the reader engaged, pondering the topic as they move to the next chapter. Include a call to action. Encourage the reader to apply the knowledge, reflect on a specific point, or engage in a specific action. This can be particularly effective in motivational or self-help contexts. Preview what is next. Briefly hint at what is coming in the next chapter without giving too much away. This creates anticipation and motivates the reader to continue with the book. Use a quotation or an anecdote. Conclude with a quote or a brief story that encapsulates the chapter themes. This can have a lasting impression and enhance the memorability of the chapter. Reflective closure. Provide a moment of reflection on the implications of the chapter's content. This helps deepen understanding and personal connection to the material. So, 3 general tips. Consistency. Each chapter can have its unique hooks and closures. Maintaining a consistent structure can help the reader navigate the book and understand the format. Introductions and conclusions should be concise. Clarity and brevity, they serve as guides into and out of the chapter, not places for extensive argumentation or detailed discussion. Always aim to engage both intellectually and emotionally. Your introductions and conclusions are prime places to ensure the reader feels invested in the material. By employing these techniques, each chapter will not only stand alone with a strong start and finish, but also contribute effectively to the narrative or argumentative flow of your book. This approach enhances readability and ensures your readers remain engaged throughout the reading experience. So, questions. How can I effectively structure the chapter introductions to build anticipation for the content? What are some best practices for crafting memorable and impactful chapter conclusions? Welcome to this. This is almost the concluding lecture. Yeah, it's a short course, but it's very long if you participate. Look at the resources section. 3-step editing process. This is a structured approach to refining a manuscript or any written content. Distinct phases: substantive editing, copy editing, and proofreading. Substantive editing. This is the first and most comprehensive stage. Substantive editing addresses the content, organization, and structure of the manuscript. The editor looks at the big picture to ensure the document is coherent, logically structured, and effectively communicates its message. Focus areas, content. Are all necessary topics covered? Is there any irrelevant or redundant information? Structure. Is the information organized logically? Does the flow of content make sense? Clarity. Are the ideas and arguments clearly presented? Consistency. Are the tone, style, and voice consistent throughout the document? Audience appropriateness. Is the content appropriate for the target audience in terms of complexity, jargon, and depth? Second element, copy editing. After the structure and content are solidified, copy editing focuses on the clarity of expression, grammatical accuracy, and internal consistency of the text. This stage catches errors that can distract or confuse the reader. Focus areas. Grammar and syntax. Correcting grammatical mistakes, improving sentence structure, and ensuring proper use of the language. Style consistency. Adhering to a specific style guide, e.g. APA, Chicago, MLA, and ensuring consistency in how numbers, terms, and titles are treated. Accuracy. Checking for factual inaccuracies, possible legal issues, and other specific details. Readability. Enhancing flow and removing jargon that might impede understanding. And now, proofreading. This is the final stage of the editing process, focusing on surface errors such as misspelling, typographical mistakes, and formatting issues. It's the last step before publication, ensuring that the text is polished and ready for the audience. Focus areas: typos, spelling mistakes, catching and correcting simple errors, punctuation, ensuring the proper use of commas, periods, colons, formatting, checking consistency in fonts, headings, margins, and spacing. And the final review often involves reading the document multiple times, sometimes backwards or out loud, to catch any remaining issues. Implementation tips. Different editors can be beneficial to have different people perform each stage of editing. Fresh eyes can catch errors that might have been overlooked. Use tools. Utilize grammar and spell check tools as a preliminary step, but don't rely solely on them. Human judgment is crucial. Timing. Allow time between each editing stage to come back to the text with fresh perspectives. Now, by carefully implementing each of these steps, the overall quality of the manuscript is significantly enhanced, making it more enjoyable and easier to read. This structured process is crucial for professional writing, especially in fields like publishing, academic writing, and technical documentation. So, I conclude with these questions. Remember, these are not rhetorical. These are for you to participate. How do the 3 editing steps differ in their focus and objectives? Can you provide an example of how the 3-step editing process is applied in a real-world writing project? What are some common challenges writers face when implementing the 3-step editing process? And that's it. Yes. Finished. All around. Sunset has now arrived. And so sunset has arrived on your course. I said it was a short course. I also said it was a very long course. Check the resources. Also, think about some of the tips that I've been saying to make chapters interesting. I've tried to apply them to these lectures. I've deliberately made the course short because it is an outline, and the real work comes not so much in watching a few lectures, albeit in a rather nice countryside. No, it's not watching a few lectures. The real work comes in doing the case studies, in looking at the quotations, in working through the questions, and looking at the 3-step editing process, and then applying it. Looking at the books that I have quoted, where I've given examples of chapters. Maybe reading the books, or at least going to a bookshop and looking at the relevant chapters, or seeing if they're online. So in fact, the gist of this course is to prod you into thinking, oh, it's a short course, I can watch that quickly, and I can watch it time and time again, because if you watch it time and time again, there'll be different layers and more resources, and most importantly, people posting responses, I hope, in the question answer section. And I've asked a question, somebody posts a response, not me, somebody else posts a response, somebody responds to that, and so the course expands through participation by the students. So this is a course that you can come back to time and time and time again. Not so much for me, or even the countryside, no, for what people are posting in the QA, for the homework they submit. It's very much like being in a lecture class at university. A short lecture followed by case studies, followed by discussion, followed by presentation, followed by analysis, followed perhaps by swapping papers or changing groups. If you were in a workshop on writing non-fiction books, you wouldn't be in the same group all the time. I'd move people around. When I run workshops, I move people around so they've got fresh ideas. You work with those three, you work with those three. Next time, those people work with different people. So yes, beautiful scenery, I hope. That means you're more likely to come back. And you're more likely to think of the key points I've been putting down the side. And you're more likely, I hope, to participate in the question answer section. So, a short course, but it's only as short as you make it. look at the resources. I look forward to your participation. As I said in the front screen, beginning of the course, all of the revenue that I would receive for this course, which may be a lot, may only be a little, but all of the revenue goes to charity. I'm just trying to encourage you to write non-fiction books, to use this course as a structure, use the question and answer forum, if you like, for your melting pot, where you thrash out ideas and respond to homework. Thank you for being part of this course and continuing to benefit the course and benefit the people on it, and also therefore to benefit the charity. Thank you.